Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Final Whistle. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Matt. I'll be leading our conversation today with the man of the hour, Coach Darren Sawatzky. Darren, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, so I figure let's go ahead and hop right into the conversation. Team is on 2-game winning streak right now, back to back clean sheets. It feels like some momentum is building within the squad. You know, Obviously from your perspective, how are the spirits in the team at the moment?
Yeah, I would just start with for about a 2 month period. I mean, we had Bolduc, Vonnie, Darwin, Seufert, Emmy, Maxi, Addy, all injured out and struggling. Every one of those guys, with the exception of Bolduc, who is now starting to run and get ready. But every one of those guys is now healthy and on the field. So, you can't make lemonade without lemons. It's helped to have the guys back in, and they're starting to get fit and in form for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it helpful to have more than half your squad out? Usually, probably not.
I don't, somebody in the army said something about, excuses are really a sign of incompetence. I don't know if that's exactly true. I would say that it's difficult to do what you plan to do, but I will say something else, along with those guys getting healthy, there's been other guys like Griffin and Beckett and certainly James Snedden have decided to step into more of a professional role, and Landon picked up another goal on the weekend. So those kids are contributing for us.
Absolutely. No, I think there's a lot of good feeling going around the club at the moment. I know that there's a good turnout Saturday night, not only to watch the 20s, but to be able to be at the season ticket holder event, getting to hear from first Mika, then you, some of the players that were out there, and it felt like an overall good vibe going on, and it's always nice to be able to see. One of the things that I know a lot of people have noticed is a little bit of shape change. So you teased some of our conversations early in the year that there might be something in the back pocket that you knew you were going to use at one point, which pretty sure that was the Naples game that you meant with kind of shifting to the three center backs and kind of two outside backs approach, and we've seen that come back the last couple of games too. Uh, how does this change kind of affect the team approach and how you set out to play?
Yeah, for the last few years, we've really been a possession-oriented team. I've talked about it a lot. The shift in the modern game, the teams that are winning aren't necessarily the teams that boss possession. You have to be better in transitional moments, which means that in transitional moments, you need players up the field. And in a three-back system, if your wingbacks are right and they play correctly, you can attack really, really well when you gain possession against a team that's in an unset defense. It also helped us a lot to pick up Marcelo Lage. He's a steady force at the back for us. We didn't really have that guy. Good communicator, good center back. There's a lot of good players here, but he gave us the opportunity to be able to play in different formations.
Yeah, he's also a big boy, which I think from looking at the 6 seasons you've had with us here, at least maybe it's a coincidence. Get the feeling that you enjoy a nice, strong, steady center back. Back there looking at Venter and Jalen and Ani and now Marcelo back there too.
Well, I'll say this, man. The first couple of years, Kyle Venter broke my heart and retired, and then Yvonne broke my heart and retired. We were building defenses around those guys, and you understand that they want to move on, but it's hard for us in Richmond to go after players. We had Jalen Krizer as a kid from Seattle, and we couldn't pay him, so he chased the money in Knoxville, and those things are hard to replace. Marcelo came available, and we dove at it and got really lucky. So we'll hope to keep him around, but again, we're coaching for right now in the present, and he's a good ad for us.
Yeah, and kind of speaking of the present, like we mentioned, back to back clean sheets right now. From your point of view, why has this change worked so effectively? Because a lot of guys are in maybe not radically different roles, but just different enough roles. Like Simon being a little bit wider. Obviously, there's a little bit not well, on paper less in the midfield, but obviously things aren't static. When the game actually starts. Uh, what's allowing some of these guys to be able to find maybe a better fit or more success with this new look?
We started the year with a plan. There's no question that Darren likes wingers. I was a winger. I like to attack on the flanks. It's part of my systems, whatever system I use. And Adrian Billhart missing the first 3.5 months really didn't help us. Darwin getting injured didn't help us. So, as we looked at that and we said, well, what's going to be our best chance of getting the best players on the field for the run that we're going to have to make based on the fact that we've given up a bunch of points? It came together. Darwin has the ability to play both inside and outside. Beckett Howe found form. Simon Fitch is growing as a player. Obviously Maxey, when he's healthy and in the mood, does really well. So, Hayden Anderson can also play on the wing back spot. So we have guys that can do it. Adding Marcelo really helped, but we needed to take a little more pragmatic approach. We know we need to go get points. We're in just about every game we played this year. It just wasn't happening. And, at some point, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we made the shift. We're attacking a little bit differently, a little bit more direct at times, but we also have the ability to keep the ball. And the guys are getting more and more comfortable in this shape.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, so far so good, right? And results are in business, and results say it's good change. Right now. So going in, to the Madison game, this upcoming weekend, the team had the one game last midweek, and a little bit more of a break there. So we're kind of looking at almost a 2.5 weeks stretch with one game after a little bit of a busy schedule leading up to that, especially with the Knoxville reschedule, in there, and then leading into another 3 game in a week, set. So how is this kind of you know almost extended break period kind of helped or hurt any of the changes that you're making, or being able to build towards the end of the season?
Well, it gives us time to work tactically, and it allows guys to recover and get fully healthy. So that part is good. Truthfully, after we got the win against Knoxville, I was upset that we had so much time before the next game, and then we just had to go through it again. It can make the guys a little bit moody. Training's been a little bit testy and because the guys want to get to the next game. So I take that as a positive. It's given us a chance to tactically look at teams. We see Forward Madison posts every single day about the Henny Derby. That's going to be quite the game on the weekend. Our guys know what it means. We both know that we're fighting to get up the table. So that game has the could be a feisty one.
Hey, feisty doesn't have to be a bad word, especially I know the fans have taken a liking to Hayden's feistiness on the field recently, and bringing some positive energy that way. So looking forward to seeing that continue. You mentioned a little bit earlier, early that this season, there's been spells where a lot of guys have been, banged up at, different times. You mentioned that Bolduc is, starting to, get back, but, he's, still on the shelf. Any other, fitness updates that, you're able, to be able to provide?
Yeah, in general, guys are all training now. Bolduc isn't fully training, but he's out there. It's the first time that we've had everybody out on a soccer field. James Vaughn is really starting to finally get healthy and fit. Emmy, obviously scored a really good goal against Westchester. He's starting to kind of look like the Emmy that we know he can be, and we hope that continues. Maxie's been a little banged up. He kind of comes and goes, but everybody's out on the training field. For the first time this year, the very first time, we were doing the flight manifest today, in general for the weekend, and I actually had hard decisions to make. For the most part, I'm usually looking down the bench and going, how am I going to fill a spot? And this time I'm going to end up leaving a guy or two behind that could deservedly be on the trip.
Okay. And we had a question about Josh Kirkland. He obviously came out in the first half of the Westchester game. Anything you're able to provide about him?
The bull is fully healthy, strong, and steam coming out of his nose.
I want to take that as good, and right there, because I don't speak bull, so I don't know if smoke coming out of the nose is good or not. So, all right. Another topic that I've seen discussed in a few different places is it seems like time after time, especially during your time here with the characters, but even a little bit even before that, we'll focus on the Darren era right now. Right around this time of year, the team tends to catch fire. What is it about the college football season starting that seems to have this team really turn it up a notch almost every single year?
Well, first thing I would say is most of the seasons that you guys have been a part of used to be these 5-month seasons, right? Like the USL, USIS, that was a lot different. You could make a change and shift something quickly. It was like an extended college season. They're now 10, 11-month seasons where that has ebbs and flows. I would tell you that, we're one of those teams. We don't feed our players. The apartments are really scarce. There's a lot of things, like we have a bunch of challenges that are different than other teams. You hit the middle part of the season, and if you're unlucky to have injuries or some other adversity, it's difficult. And people say I use them as excuses, but in 2022, the only injury that we had that was really significant for a long period of time was Johnny Bolaños, and we had a couple of guys really step up. So we were able to stay healthy in that middle run, but we also started to really play at the end of the season. And what I would say to you is we work incredibly hard. Mika and Connor and Evan, we work really hard on the science of things. We want us to peak at the right times. So in 22, we were in a good run of form, decent run of form, and then we hit a really good stride, which carried us. We didn't get the ultimate prize at the end, but we did win a trophy. When we've had these adverse years, 21, 24, and then now 25 again, we're starting to peak at the right time, which means the coaching and all the work that we've done is starting to come out, and the work that the players have done. I think that that's a sign of progress. It's not one of those things. We're not dive bombing. 23 was a really hard year with just everything that happened, but no excuses. I don't disagree. I like that teams that I coach start to find form when it counts. And we haven't done anything yet, but the guys know what we're about. They're willing to go fight, and I'm excited for Saturday.
Absolutely, and hey, I think we've seen it, not just in soccer, a lot of sports. Sometimes it's a matter of getting hot at the right moment, and right moment's usually at the end. So let's hope it carries forward again. More 5-game winning streaks, 6-game winning streaks like past seasons, and I think we'll be playing well into November if that's the case. Uh, so you mentioned earlier you were a winger when you played,
Mhm.
uh, and you're, for those who aren't as familiar with the playing day, Darren era, at University of Portland up through what, 94, 95, correct?
I graduated in 95, but I was already headed down to Mexico. But yep, 95.
Okay, couldn't remember if you were at the on that team that was at the first College Cup that was at City Stadium or not. Uh, so he was there. Played a lot of different places. He was on the New England team with Rob was there for a few years. A couple other places. Played. I mean, won't hit him too hard for playing in Charleston at some point. But Seattle, Portland, probably a few other places that I'm leaving out. But you saw a lot of the country through your playing days. And I know you played at City Stadium a few times because I remember seeing the blonde mane flowing and for the other teams. Uh, you know, kind of thinking back, any memories from your playing days at City Stadium that stand out to you?
Yeah, I remember I was playing for the New England Revolution, and I I wouldn't say I got in trouble, but I had a feisty interaction with the coach there, and he sent me out with the Worcester Wildfire, which was a team kind of on loan. And back then it was a little bit different. It was a little bit more of a punishment for me. But both myself and a guy named Paul Keegan, we came down the coast, and in those days you were on a bus. Again, those were like 5-month seasons, so you would play 3 games in 6 days, and we played here, we played the Carolina Dynamo, and then we went down and played Jacksonville. And I remember scoring at the very end of the game at City Stadium, and I got booed all over the place. So it was I want to say that was 90, end of 96, early 97, if I remember correctly, but that was a long time ago.
Okay. Yeah, and uh, you obviously played a lot of different places, and I was trying to rack my brain. Obviously, City Stadium's still around. I think whatever they're calling Providence Park in Portland's still around. Are any of the other places that you played at still active stadiums?
Easy, man. That's kind of messed up that you're hammering me, but um, there are definitely active stadiums out there. I don't, I, you know, you mentioned earlier that in Seattle, they're in the process of tearing down Memorial Stadium right now. It was built in the 1962 World's Fair, and I've probably played 50 to 60 games in that stadium and scored a lot of goals. There's a lot of nostalgia with that. They're going to build a really cool stadium there now, but it's interesting because the middle school that I went to is torn down. The high school that I went to is torn down. The elementary school that I went to is torn down. When you travel around the country, I think Charleston has played in like 15 different locations. It's just really interesting. And that's one of the coolest things now about City is that City Stadium is still around when all of these other places are just now building soccer specific venues and all of that stuff. City Stadium is stood the test of time. I mean, it's an amazing place. All the teams love coming here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was, getting ready to, tee up because one of my favorite, pieces of these conversations with you is a little bit getting you going on some of the other places that you have to play, but really, in this case, to be able to highlight, yes, City Stadium is an older stadium, but the quality that the guys get to play on, especially in comparison to these newer venues that maybe aren't as optimal.
I would just tell you right now, Portland, Maine has done an amazing job. I wish their field didn't have the lines on it, but the atmosphere there it was amazing. With the Red Army there too, man. You guys made it for us. We came over afterwards. We really appreciated you being there. But like some of these other places, I mean, we took a bus to Knoxville and ate 4 days and had to come back and didn't play. Then we flew down there and ate it again because the field's absolutely crap. And I'll say it out loud. Playing in Omaha is difficult. Like if you go to Knoxville and Omaha, you're not going to play soccer. It's really, really hard. So if you're preparing to play a good soccer game, City Stadium's where you want to be because you're going to get a true game out of it. So many of these places, you're having to adjust the way you play based on the fact that just the starting point of the surface or the narrowness of the field or the fact that there's a baseball diamond or all these things, it makes it difficult. And I'm not complaining because we've gone to places and got points. It's just you're not preparing to play soccer. You're preparing to go battle to just try to get something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was mostly for me because I could have us go on all day about the quirks that we've seen over the years. I was talking to Bolduc at the event about some of the places and like I don't know if you ever had the pleasure of Old Frontier Field in
Yeah.
Rochester, which was special. And
Yeah.
some of the other ones. Okay. Kind of again looking ahead into this Madison game, this weekend. Uh, they're a team who is maybe not where they thought they would be at this point in the season, and struggling for results as well. But lately they've started to change a little bit. They were at a point where they weren't scoring ever, and now they've put up three in two of their last three games. Although they've also shipped 3+ in two of their last three games. Uh, does that affect how you prepare for this weekend, knowing that they've had a little bit of a you know change in their performance lately?
Well, first, that team spends money. They got a lot of good players in that roster. They lost the kid Osman and they signed Jason Ramos, who's somebody we were looking at. We really like Jason. He's a good player. That's a good ad for them. The he's got a bunch of loans. The kid Dorado from Birmingham, good player. We can't do that because we have nowhere to put him. Like we can't bring loans in. We were able to bring Ryan Barron, but he took the only apartment we had open. So it gives them a little bit of an advantage in order to bring guys in when they have injuries and stuff. It's a well put together team. It's not dissimilar to last year. It's a very similar team to what they had last year, and they had a lot of success. They have the ability to light it up just like they did last Wednesday against Texoma. But they also have had to shift their formation. They've had to kind of do some different things and kind of feature Dorado and Gephardt up front, go a little bit more direct at times. He's trying to find ways to get points. So again, this game has, it's a Henny Derby. It's liable to be very feisty. We expect a direct game. We expect them to kick the crap out of us. They always do there. The turf field makes it difficult, but that game is always a hard game between the two of us. It's always a good game. It's like a cup final, just like most games in League One. So we know what the expectation is. We know where we can find space on the field. We know where we can attack them. We just got to be efficient and not give up foolish goals.
Okay. Okay. So one of the things I noticed on Saturday, while you were working the quote unquote room with everybody, is you had your laptop there and you had League One games up and keeping an eye on that. So I don't think there's any question that you've got tabs kept on probably every single team in this league, and you could rattle off all kinds of information about them. Are there any teams that you especially just enjoy watching in this league?
It's an interesting question. I would tell you that all of our staff is really adept on all of the teams. If there's a game night with 5 games, we watch every game, whether we watch them together, 3 screens or whatever, we watch everything. So yeah, we do. I would say that Portland, Maine has done an incredible job with the atmosphere of their stadium that gives their team life. They're all about the players. They're all about the team. It's not an event or just a fun time. It's not a minor league baseball thing. It's a soccer event, and it's there for soccer and it's there for the team. So I enjoyed that trip up there. I enjoyed walking out. The field's not perfect, but I'd go back there and play again. I thought they did a good job. In terms of who to watch, like really enjoy watching, I think the guy in Knoxville's done a really good job of organizing his team. Obviously they spend money too. Lee Vedman did a good job in Spokane. I mean, anytime that you have Neil Vignoles, who's a 3-time league all-star, who's only started 6 games, comes off the bench for them, that's a pretty stacked team. So at times they can play, but truthfully, we've been in every game. I don't think there's any team that
Mhm.
I'm not enamored by. I think that we have the ability to compete with everybody. It's just with Richmond, we got to get it right to win games, and we have to be in form and healthy.
And it's perfectly, fair answer, right there. Uh, okay, well, I wanted to, kind of wrap us up today, with, kind of a little quick rapid fire, kind of thing. So just gut reaction, just, statements. These mostly goofy questions, but just some little fun to send us off with. So, uh, what's your go-to album?
My go-to album,
Yeah,
any album,
any.
probably Master of Puppets, Metallica.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. Uh, player on this team that reminds you most of you.
Most of me, probably Bolduc,
Okay. Uh, guy in the locker room who you would bet will become a coach.
Dakota Barnathan,
All right. Uh, the player around the world that you'd love to work with, even for just one day.
Zinedine Zidane.
Oh, okay, didn't see
Does it
that one
have to be
coming.
a present player?
No, for some reason I just didn't see it go in that direction. I don't know why.
He
Yeah,
can do both. The
yeah,
guy's nastier than nasty, and he's got the best touch, vision, and player acumen and mentality on the planet.
nice, nice. Okay. Uh, the favorite goal you ever scored.
So I scored 2 against DC United on July 20th, 1996, and it was the first nationally ESPN televised game in Major League Soccer. So just about everybody on the planet watched that game. But I picked the ball up at the half line, dribbled all the way in, and smashed it past Jeff Causey, and everybody on the planet saw it. So that was a fun goal.
All right, sounds like a good one. Do you know if it's easily findable on YouTube?
If it's not, yeah, if you Google it, I there's a pretty crazy celebration that comes after it.
All right, good to know. We'll find that and make sure we link it for everybody so that way they can see Darren and the height of his glory,
No
right
kidding.
there. And then uh, in your opinion, the away day that any Kickers fan should make a point to be able to do this year, next year, anytime in the future.
An away game to go to?
Yeah,
Portland, Maine.
I had a feeling you might say that based off of our earlier answers. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Portland was awesome.
They
Can't.
absolutely knocked it out of the park, man. They care about their team. It's about the pro soccer team there. I'm so envious. It's just about the soccer team. It's awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. Darren, any kind of final words you want to leave the fans with heading in to 3-game match week?
Yeah, I got a good one. I obviously take a lot of heat, and you know that, and it doesn't bother me. Being a head coach, you take a lot of jest, and guys come after you and all that stuff. We played up at Westchester this last week, and that team is one of the higher paying teams in the league, and they have some great players and really good people there. And their schedule probably in their where they are in the rankings probably isn't where they should be. But we went up there and we started 3 teenagers that came up through our academy to pro, and they played 90 minutes. We brought on the 4th academy guy, signed to pro, and he scored the goal. So the project that we've been working on for 2 years, and we've worked really, really hard. And to be honest with you, between me, Mika, Connor, and Evan, we're the only ones that do it, man. We don't get a lot of support here. Like there isn't a lot of support. It's all us. It's grinding. I was so proud of those kids because they were legit. They didn't start the game because of charity minutes. They started because they earned the spot and they helped us win a game. And Landon, yeah, the goalkeeper made a mistake, but if Landon didn't do everything he was supposed to do during that play, he doesn't get the tap in. So, the project is happening and we all want it to go faster than it is. But I'm just really proud of those kids.
Yeah, and especially with Landon, I'm a big believer in you create your own luck. And
Mhm.
like you said, if he didn't do it, he's supposed to be doing, that would have never happened in the first place. So, you know,
Agreed.
good things go to those who put in the work. All right. Well, Darren, thank you as always for really volunteering your time to be able to speak with us, be able to share insights into the team, into the club overall. And today some of your own background. We're really appreciative of you doing that. For everybody listening, thank you as always, for listening. Please, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Elliot always usually talks about. He has that script memorized. I don't. You've listened to enough, podcasts. You know the routine, by now. But we'll be back. Checking with Darren again. Next month. Hopefully, being able to talk about however many games that will have been at that point, continued winning streak and start talking about, playoff positioning at this point. But Darren, thank you again. Thank you everybody, for listening and let's get ready for, a big win in Madison and also coming up on Wednesday against Portland at home. 6:30 kickoff at
Yep.
home. Everybody remember that. All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks, man. Take care, man.
Thank you.